If you think your way is the only way, how will you compromise for peace? And if you are too good not to suffer with Jesus, how will you get to heaven?
Welcome back, everyone. We are looking back at this past week's Sunday readings and looking ahead to next Sunday's readings. We know that most people attending Mass don't look ahead to the readings they'll be hearing. So I hope you'll find our little show fun and useful, especially if you're looking to connect more to the Bible readings during Mass. My name is Vincent and my buddy's name is Roy. We've been friends since childhood, and we both volunteer at different churches as lectors, or the guys who read at Mass. We'll offer our thoughts on the readings, as well as share some fun stories about volunteering at church and everyday life. Okay, let's get started.
All right, back again. What's new with you?
Yeah, so last week we got a notification from our CCD Catechism Director, Sister Isabel, that our Saturday classes on the day before the Super Bowl are going to be canceled because of all the road closures and the anticipated traffic around the stadium. So some folks are going to be rather inconvenienced and probably be late trying to get in, right? So no class for us on September 7th. We also had a teachers meeting where I had to give a presentation on like classroom stuff and lesson planning techniques, that kind of thing. But before I got started, I told the group how upset I was because I sincerely look forward to every class and teaching the kids. Outside of being a husband and dad, obviously, this is the only good thing I do in life, teaching CCD. And I also went to a second Mass to St. Francis Cabrini for the Diocese of San Jose's annual Black History Month Mass. There was a procession of flags from different African and Caribbean nations and pictures of famous venerables of the U.S. who are on their way to sainthood, like Venerable Pierre Toussaint, who was a hairdresser from New York, who was an escaped slave or a freed slave from Haiti, Venerable Henriette Delille, who was from New Orleans, and Venerable Father Augustus Tolton, who was the first U.S. Roman Catholic priest who was ordained in the 1880s. I'll share little pictures of them over here somewhere and maybe links to their biographies. Very lively music. The bishop was the celebrant for the Mass too, so it was really cool.
Cool.
So what's up with you this past week?
Well, my friend had a tequila tasting party over the weekend. Yeah, I thought it would be just like, a small get together, but I think one of his friends, is a rep for one of them because he brought like two brands, both like the whole line from the Blanco, Reposado, Añejo, and the Still, and even some in between. I don't think we got to some of the other ones that the other guys brought. That was it. That's like a whole tasting in general. So it was pretty cool. But Sunday, we celebrated my brother Rex's birthday at Milpitas Shabuya. Is that how you pronounce that? Shabuya?
Shabuya.
Shabuya! It was really good, but I think they only give you like 90 minutes of time there to eat, and it was a buffet. So I was kind of like stressed out. Like I think I was stressing myself out, but I was like trying to figure out like how the best way to manage my cooking, and then trying to get that right rhythm of when to cook and when to eat. Like I'm burning my tongue because like I have to, that's too hot. And I still think my tongue is a little bit raw. You know how you feel like the top of your tongue is still like
slightly burned.
Yeah, slightly burned.
Do you feel like you had plenty of time and you were overthinking it?
You know me.
Okay, let's look ahead to the 5th Sunday of Ordinary Time.
So in the first reading, Isaiah calls for a shift from empty religious rituals to active compassion, like feeding the hungry, sheltering the homeless, and clothing the naked. The reading promises when you remove oppression and pour yourself out for others, your light will rise and the gloom will become bright like midday. The responsorial Psalm 112, where the players dwell, the just man is a light in the darkness to the upright.
For the second reading, St. Paul writes to the Corinthians that he does not rely on lofty speech or human wisdom to spread the gospel, but instead comes in weakness and humility. He focused solely on the message of Christ crucified, and he intentionally avoids persuasive oratory so that their faith would rest on God's power rather than human brilliance. So this is kind of a recurring theme even from last week. And finally, in the gospel, Jesus uses the metaphors of salt and light to describe what his disciples should be to the world. He says that salt is useless if it loses its flavor, and that a light is meant to be placed on a stand to give light, not hidden under a bushel basket. So that is the gospel and the other readings for this week. Nice 112 reference there, by the way, for the response words. Okay, how would you read this? Let's tackle the first reading from Isaiah. The context here is that this is the part of Isaiah's poems that describe the people when the Lord's suffering servant will pass down his inheritance to his servants. This reading talks about the actions of what his servants should do and how it will affect the world. In relation to the salt and light theme of the gospel, note the correlations with hunger for salt and the specific good deeds done for the oppressed and the homeless. Stay away from the deeds of wickedness, and you will be like light from the dark, like the dawn. Also notice that all this light you show is not for your glory, but for the glory of God. In the notes before you get started, God calls the people to boldly live out the faith that they profess. Before then your light shall break forth like the dawn, accentuate the word then, which shows the connection between right action and God's healing. So if you do this, then this will happen. Before oppression and false accusation and malicious speech, give each item on this list careful attention without rushing. And at the end, before then light shall rise for you, use a hopeful and energetic tone to finish the reading.
Energetic. A reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah. Thus says the Lord, share your bread with the hungry, shelter the oppressed and the homeless, clothe the naked when you see them, and do not turn your back on your own. Then your light shall break forth like the dawn, and your wound shall quickly be healed. Your vindication shall go before you, and the glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry for help, and he will say, here I am. If you remove from your midst oppression, false accusation, and malicious speech, if you bestow your bread on the hungry and satisfy the afflicted, then light shall rise for you in the darkness, and the gloom shall become for you like midday. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
The second reading is from the first book of Corinthians. This letter was Paul addressing 5 problems that were reported to him when he was away from Corinth. The last 2 Sundays addressed the problem of division in the church there, arguing about which preacher was better and kind of idolizing them. Sounds very common in today's church. Continuing from last week's reading, describes how he came to them humble about himself and only coming to them glorifying Jesus and how he was crucified. You could see the mirroring of Jesus and in the gospel where Jesus points to the glory of God the Father. I would read it in a kind of a compassionate but correcting tone. The first 2 sentences constitute a single thought, so don't pause between them. Rather, pause after the word crucified. Before, but with a demonstration of spirit, you want to pause after the words wisdom, spirit, and power. Finally, before the so that your faith, these final 2 lines grow to the reading's dramatic conclusion, with its admonition to the Corinthians and to us.
Cool, I need to admonish these Corinthians. A reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. When I came to you, brothers and sisters, proclaiming the mystery of God, I did not come with sublimity of words or of wisdom, for I resolved to know nothing while I was with you, except Jesus Christ and Him crucified. I came to you in weakness and fear and much trembling, and my message and my proclamation were not with persuasive words of wisdom, but with a demonstration of spirit and power, so that your faith might rest not on human wisdom, but on the power of God. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Alrighty, so let's look back at last week. What did you take from Mass?
So I have to give credit to my boy for remembering this bit of the homily. Our priest was talking, of course, about the Beatitudes, and he incorporated praying the rosary. And he said to think about each bead of the rosary as spiritual bullets to shoot the devil and fight against him. So it's a very vivid image to stick in your mind the next time you pray the rosary, like the beads are a bullet to shoot down the devil. So whether you pray one rosary or 4 rosaries, or even just squeezing in 1 decade of the rosary, take great care and intention with each Hail Mary, each Our Father, each Glory Be. So I'll try to drill that into my rosary regimen the next time I feel my mind wandering. And actually, it's one thing that I do when I get to the end of a decade sometimes of the rosary. If I feel like, oh, I'm at the end already and my mind was wandering, I'll like back up and I'll do like an extra 3 with a little bit more intention. Like, you know, that happens all the time. But there's, being a little bit more intentional, like, oh, this is a bullet to fight the devil in my life and other people's lives.
But it's good because, I mean, technically when you do the rosary, you've memorized the prayers enough that it is automatic to where you could concentrate on the mysteries. But, you know, there's a double-edged sword because now that's automatic, then you could think of something else where you're supposed to be thinking of the mysteries. You could tell, like, wait a minute, I'm not thinking about the mysteries, I'm thinking of something else.
Exactly. What did you get from your homily this weekend?
So I went to the 4 o'clock Mass at Our Lady of Peace. Father Jonathan picked out like 3 specific Beatitudes, but he really heavily focused on the clean of heart, pointing out all kind of the root causes for divorce. Basically, that all the things in our culture tells our young adults about what is good and couple advice for a successful marriage, which is statistically the reason why the marriages fail. So again, popular culture is not helpful for a successful marriage.
Nope.
And you know how he is. He's always, that's his bread and butter, talking about the culture. Yeah. I would love to go down and explain each of the Beatitudes, but I think the most important one is emphasized in all of the readings, being poor in spirit or being humble, because pride is the deadliest or the root of all sin. It is what leads us to the rest of our sins, and it is the first sin that Eve wanted to be like God. Because I think if you are not poor in spirit, then how can you mourn? If you are prideful, how can you be meek? If you are not poor, how can you hunger for thirst? If you can't forgive others, how could you be merciful? If you justify in your heart, it's not like I killed someone. How can you be clean? If you think your way is the only way, how will you compromise for peace? And if you are too good not to suffer with Jesus, how will you get to heaven?
That is really good. Was that your own reflection, or did you glean that from stuff he was saying in the homily?
No, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to say, trying to feel like what's the opposite and things like that. This like kind of works out really, really well.
Yeah. It's gold, Jerry. It's gold.
Okay, how was it? I hope you got some positive takeaways from this. Leave your thoughts below in the comments, and don't just like and subscribe, but also click that share button and share this with your family and friends as well. Take care and God bless.
Pride is kind of a underrated, lies under the radar kind of sin.
That's why it's so deadly. It's silent but deadly.
Silent.